Do you think that a lack of funding actually is a reason why businesses in Nigeria do not work? Do you think that is a problem?
I think it plays a part. I don't think that's the problem. I think I would look at other fundamentals, like what's the soundness of your business model? If I were to blind it and I didn't know it was, say, a Nigerian startup, right, and we somehow could blind it and have judges come in and look at it, would the overall proposal for the Nigerian business be as competitive as you're finding in other markets that are attracting capital? And I think, I don't know, I'm not an expert on this in particular for Nigeria, but from my understanding, I think that's not the case. I think when you get the business model and the business fundamentals and the potential profitability, right, these things that like venture capital pays attention to, right, like how many customers do you have? How much do they like your product? What's your growth rate like? How large is the TAM? These types of things are what they're looking at because they're taking a chance, or whether it's taking a chance on Nigerians or, so I don't think it's simply there's not capital. I think it's
Welcome back to the LIMBsimple Podcast, where bold conversations meet real world growth. I am Melvis Ihezwanu. Today's episode is rather personal because I am having a conversation with someone that I think is the brainwork behind a lot of strategies and innovation in the business space globally. Now, I have with me Mr. Russell Rogers. Now, this podcast is happening in a very tiny makeshift coffee shop right here in the city of Singapore. Now, if you know Singapore, you know that this place feels like the future. Really clean streets, multiculturalism is literally on display, futuristic architecture, and everything just feels like, easy and soft, and the food really nice. Nigerian taste palettes approved. Now, in this coffee shop, I have found and I'm having a conversation with a germ. Now, Russell isn't just a typical CEO. He is smart. He is sharp. He's widely strategic. Has made me laugh a couple of times, off air, and he's also the kind of guy that you'll be able to have a conversation about artificial intelligence with a smile on your face. Now, talking about artificial intelligence, he is the founder and the CEO of the Adaptive Intelligence, a company that is currently using AI and innovations to help businesses scale, make better decisions, fast track execution, and move with clarity in a rather chaotic world. Russell is an alumnus of 14 different business schools. But beyond the fancy titles and impressive portfolio, he is a builder, an innovator, a people-first kind of leader that believes that and understands that businesses aren't just built by systems, but businesses grow and thrive because people do. Today's conversation isn't just one that would help you as a typical Nigerian. It's one that is fine-tuned for the African audience. And definitely, if you're looking to, grow and scale your business in this rather trying times, then plug into this conversation. It's an absolute privilege to have you with me, Mr. Russell.
Thank you very much, Melvis. It's my pleasure.
Thank you. First, this is really a lot for you, I want to believe, because you've had quite a session, with the mastermind members in there. What do you think? How was your session? Start with that.
It was amazing. It was extremely insightful, enjoyable, high energy group, very insightful, very funny, brought me unique sets of problems for me to think about with the community and with the group. So I've had a great time.
Thank you. So now, I want to start with first of having maybe you tutor your on, because I did state earlier on that you've got about 14 degrees from different schools. My question first off would be why? And I'm saying why because I live in a generation, and I also come from a country that currently people think that actual education in the four walls of a school isn't quite necessary. And I mean, if I say be extreme, it rather a waste of fund and time. So you haven't just done 1, 2, 3. I'm talking 14. So, but why?
Yeah, well, I wish I had a great answer for that. I think my life strategy has been somewhat of an emergent strategy. And to set the record straight, I don't have 14 degrees. I have alumni status at 14 universities,
okay.
About 7 degrees. Maybe the other 7 are lengthy, long programs that require in-person the curriculum requires you to be in person, sometimes hybrid, with significant deliverables. So it wasn't, I took a week-long course online, and
okay.
So it's been a big commitment to education. It's, I think, happened because I get interested in a topic, and I find that one of the ways I learn best is with other people. And so I'll identify something I'm interested in, like artificial intelligence, for instance. So I'm now involved in the Chief Data and Artificial Intelligence Officer program at Carnegie Mellon, which is one of the leaders in the world in artificial intelligence. This is my way of advancing my understanding of things. I really wouldn't recommend it for people in the world today. I got an early start before the internet became so robust with fantastic information, educational resources. I still do like meeting people face to face and learning together, but I don't think you're on the wrong path. I even in the United States, where I'm from, I live in Philadelphia, there's a trend to move away from formalized education where you're holed up for 4 years or grad school or what have you, and a trend towards giving people a mixed experience of some education to do the job at hand and then have you work on that job. And so things like accelerators and Y Combinators, et cetera, might be better learning vehicles for the modern world, because a lot of the other stuff you just get online, right, for free.
I totally agree. However, what I'm thinking there is, if you did this primarily because you wanted to know, for the search for knowledge, you have invested incredible amounts of money into knowledge. My question then is, what's the connection between all of the things that you have learned? So did you set out to say, okay, so I want to know a lot about artificial intelligence, and then while learning about artificial intelligence you realize that, oh, maybe I also want to know a lot more about what next?
Yeah, distributed ledger technology, whatever.
That one.
So I bite off things in chunks, and originally this whole path started undergrad in my hometown in Florida, and really had no idea what I wanted to do after undergrad. I did finance and economics and some medical stuff, and then I ended up doing an MBA because I didn't know what to do, so I just went right away and did an MBA. And then I really started my work career, and I became interested. I want to be a mediator and arbitrator. And where else would you go to do things like that but the Industrial Labor Relations School? And I studied collective bargaining at Cornell University. Then it was a number of years later that I had been working in healthcare, and I wanted to understand the healthcare system at the systems level. And so I applied to the Harvard program, and health policy and management was accepted. I got to study with healthcare practitioners together on campus and learn what the issues were in the healthcare system from a physician's perspective, from a nurse's perspective, allied health technology people. And I don't know if you could have that experience online and get that rich of a learning experience. And it just sort of morphed into the next area I wanted to learn something about. I'd say, and I'd go and look and see if there's a program to help tailor my experience. But if I'm in AI now, my focus is AI, right? I'm not going to say, I'd also like to know more about, human capital management. So I'm going to, at the same time, because then you sort of get spread too thin. You don't really develop any depth into a topic.
Okay, so I did talk earlier about adaptive intelligence.
Mhm.
Now, if there is a Nigerian that knows nothing about, what you do as the CEO of adaptive intelligence, do you mind to, talk to us a little about, what it is and how you thought, this is going to be remarkable for businesses globally or business leaders?
Well, that's certainly one of the ambitions of adaptive intelligence. It's really, I started the business about 8 years ago as a consulting advisory business because I had so many people reach out to me to help them on innovation. I've been doing innovation at large organizations. I've been doing it now for about 20 years, but I was sort of early into the quote corporate innovation space. I started in that in about 2006 or something like that, 2005.
Okay.
And so the idea is that I like helping people. It's just who I am. I'm a people person. I derive more pleasure probably from solving someone else's problem than my own. I don't know if that's
I do see it. I mean,
maybe it's a character defect. Who knows?
No, I strongly disagree.
Okay.
I strongly disagree.
Yeah. So I mean, it's that coupled. I mean, you sort of look at my father's a doctor, mom's a nurse. I come from sort of a family of people that are about helping.
Mm-hmm.
I worked in healthcare when I was an undergrad, and after 13 days after 9/11, I joined the military to be a combat medic. And so that's really about taking care of others, and health policy and management. So it's a little bit of who I am. I didn't figure it out till I was kind of later in life. And so about 7 or 8 years ago, I did this advisory work, and I quit doing the advisory work because I was just too busy doing my corporate roles. It was sort of like side hustle, if you will. And then I was rolling up doing work in the DoD on digital transformation, innovation, and a few other contracts. It was about mid-2023. And I had all these schools I graduated from, and I was maintaining these relationships with all these people at MIT and Harvard and Yale, and I was spread so thin. And I concluded that, look, it's nice that I have this big network to pull from and connect with, but instead of connecting because I went to the same school as somebody, why don't I connect around sort of attributes or values? And so for me, adaptive intelligence is, are you kind? Are you curious? Are you collaborative? Do you have a how can I help mindset? And so I decided to build an organization of people that are more focused on solving others' problems than their own. But it's not a purely charitable organization. These are business leaders that want to move the needle, change the world. And I realized that I needed to create an organization and a culture that's grounded in these values. And so, truth be told, I don't really care if someone went to college, if they were part of the organization, if they're kind, curious, collaborative, the helping out mindset. But as I started the business, it's a nice, I think, draw for people to say, oh, wow, I can be part of an organization that's dialed into all these elite universities. I think over time, we just want to find great people wherever they are, from whatever background they have, to help build a better world and help each other.
I mean, that's so philanthropic. It's one of the many things that I don't see business leaders say as the backbone for the conception of their businesses. That's really great.
You do see it in some places. Patagonia was very focused on environment from the start. Like that's a sort of outdoor gear. There are a number of organizations. If you go through, you will see a number of them that are built around sort of a perspective and a set of values. But you're right, it's not as common. There's so much pressure in the business world to make money. What's the story? How are you going to bring in money? The nice thing about this is I bootstrapped it, and I can make decisions to say, well, you know what? Making money is not what we're focused on here, because I don't have anybody telling me I have to get them a certain return. I said, you know what I'm doing? I'm focused on value creation, improving the lives of the people in our community. We have a second component to this. So you have adaptive intelligence, which is the community of 1,000 global executives that are helping each other achieve great things. And then we have this sister organization called Adaptive Foundation, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, which allows you to take money in the front door, and you don't have to pay taxes because you're a nonprofit. So these two vehicles that work hand in hand to support each other. So I say adaptive intelligence is leaders helping each other be successful. And adaptive foundation is leaders helping leaders help others.
Oh, beautiful.
And so I think there's this space you can play in adaptive intelligence and do for profit, which can still be improving the world for people, but you're not constrained by the nonprofit environment. And by the extra value we create, we can then move some of that over to the foundation and do things the way a foundation would.
Beautiful. I wish a lot more businesses in Nigeria had that concept and, try to practicalize it as much as they can. Thinking about it, I feel like if we did a lot of things, off air, we were talking about how many more people are so focused on, the me first mentality. and I think there's a thin line. It's balance, because we also said of that you said if you probably had that mindset, you had a lot more money than you did right now.
Mm-hmm.
My question then would be for the people in the adaptive intelligence that are looking to make actual transformative change within their businesses or within their country, because you did say that it's a global platform for people. How do you think that if people right now, entrepreneurs, startups that are trying to emulate the value systems that you have or you created during the formation of adaptive intelligence, how do you think that they could start to maybe have a mindset shift and get towards that as their business grows?
Well, for me, I got to a point in my career where I was focused not on so much about the dollars and cents, but life experience and what kind of life do I want to lead and who do I want to lead it with. And I got to a point where I said, I don't want to work with people because I have to work with them, because they're really smart, because they made a lot of money before. This is the train to hop on. A lot of the times those people happen to be not that pleasant to work with. So, and we all are familiar with this. And unfortunately that personality, that, like winner take all, and it's me. Unfortunately, I think the scholar research, if you kind of look at what Jeffrey Pfeffer's put out over at Stanford, he wrote a book called Power, 7 Rules of Power, and others, and does a lot of work about leadership behavior. And the way people tell you to behave as a leader is not the same as the leadership behaviors that you see if you study the actual leaders. Mm-hmm. And he teaches people not to behave the way the ones that you don't feel aligned with, but to understand the way they behave, understand those rules of the game. I just got to a point where I said, I only want to work with people that I enjoy working with, and that are kind, curious, collaborative with how can I mindset. And I think for these others that you're asking about, sort of like, how should they do it? I think you have to ask yourself when you're building or going into business, like, who do you really want to, it's like, who do you want to live your life with, right? It's not just your family and your friends, the people in business you're living your life with. Mm-hmm. And so I would tell people to ask themselves, as you're building this, who do you want to build with?
It's interesting, right? If anything I hear is the same amount of intentionality that you put into building your business, you want to also put that into the people that will be building the business with you too. Ah, beautiful. So talking about Nigerian businesses, right, and building, you've got an incredible array of businesses under your belt, and you've got like the best knowledge in my books on venture capital. So my question then would be, what advantages do you think that Nigerian businesses, and by extension African businesses, have that they are probably currently not exploring right now?
Well, look, you've got a young, vibrant, fairly technology savvy workforce. Mm-hmm. You have a growing population. You're abundant in resources. So I think it's like the story is still waiting to be told about the greatness of Nigeria. I think many people feel that way. India, as I said, Brazil. I think the ability to have that set of resources in a resource constrained environment actually can help make you more innovative, right? So sometimes a lack of capital can be actually an advantage. Now, of course, taken to extremes, that won't be the case. So I think I'm excited. One of the reasons I'm here now and why I have so many Nigerians in adaptive intelligence is I feel like it's this space that's not been explored, and the opportunities there to do great things. People are, I think, scared away by some of the stuff around corruption and other issues, and it's so heavily dependent on petrochemical industry. I just see it as, okay, that's great. That means there's opportunities for improvement, right? It's kind of like if you join Google, you're like, oh, I'm going to go fix Google. Google's sort of running 98%. I don't know if Nigeria is, right? And we've discussed this, and we realize, no, there's tons more that hasn't been tapped into. So I'm super excited about Nigeria. Obviously, there are challenges.
I mean, talking about challenges, you did say something about a lack of capital. Now, this one, I feel like it's one of the many talismans that businesses like to, I think businesses in Nigeria try to hold on to for the reason why they probably do not start up, or they do start up and they, close up or fail in the first, 5 years, right? Because Fortune 500 says that a business has to be for about 10 years if it's going to actually be. My question then would be, do you think with the lack of funding, and then I'm saying this because of your huge experience as a venture capitalist, right? Do you think that a lack of funding actually is a reason why businesses in Nigeria do not work? And I think let's start with that. Do you think that is a problem?
I think it plays a part. I don't think that's the problem. I think I would look at other fundamentals like...
Do talk to me about them then.
What's the soundness of your business model? Right? So if I were to blind it and I didn't know it was, say, a Nigerian startup, right? And we somehow could blind it and have judges come in and look at it. Would the overall proposal for the Nigerian business be as competitive as you're finding in other markets that are attracting capital? And I don't know, I'm not an expert on this in particular for Nigeria, but from my understanding, I think that's not the case. I think when you get the business model and the business fundamentals and the potential profitability, right? These things that like venture capital pays attention to, right? Like how many customers do you have? How much do they like your product? What's your growth rate like? How large is the TAM? These types of things are what they're looking at because they're taking a chance, or whether it's taking a chance on Nigerians or Brazilians or, people in California, it doesn't matter. It's like, okay, let me look at the opportunities. Let me look at your numbers. Let me see if this is an investable idea for a VC. It needs to be something that when I look at it, I feel like, yes, this could be a home run. Some of the things Nigeria has to deal with on top of what I just discussed is, okay, you're in Nigeria. People get scared away by, some corruption issues. Is there safety? So you also have this sort of burden on top when you're trying to access capital. So I don't think it's simply there's not capital. I think is the idea as good of an investment as other ideas we're looking at. And I think this is actually good news for Nigeria, because if they were putting forth equally good and investable ideas, then you'd really be in a jam like, all of our investments are just as good. Nobody's coming. So I think there's an opportunity to educate people on how to put forward better propositions, how to pitch better, build better decks, build businesses that are kind of, if you're looking for that VC growth, the hockey stick, build for that. It's an immense opportunity. Some of it might actually be in the packaging of the investment opportunity.
I mean, I'm talking about opportunities, and I think I want to dial down personally to you. If you were to invest in, say, an African business or in a Nigerian business even, what criterion, if maybe, or would you look out for particularly before deciding that, this one, that's the one?
Yes.
I did a very broad list because I
Right.
feel like this would essentially help a lot of businesses within the LIMBsimple community that are looking to scale their business. Because at the end of the day, I feel, and as a company, we feel that the goal for your business is for it to grow big enough that, you know, you can sell it off.
Mhm.
Right. So that's how important this question is to me. So do take your time to answer.
Right. No pressure at all. Let's see. So, I mean, what does a business look like? Well, it's a complicated question because investors typically pick types of investments, right, as their focus area, right?
Sure.
So if I'm a VC, maybe it's seed stage. I want to go in really, really early with a smaller check. I really like the team. Maybe it's ABC. It's like the business is starting to sort of prove itself a little bit. I want to help it scale with a larger bolus of capital. But I don't know if I'd have one set. I would be looking at like the domains where I focus. And within those domains, like technology, focused on people. So think of like HR tech and health tech. There's some defense tech in there. Number one for me, and I think a lot of investors will say this, is how ambitious, how diehard, how focused, how hungry are the entrepreneurs, right? I'm going to make this work no matter what. You almost want them a little bit blinded by their ambition, if you will, right? And so I think it's the team first for me. I'm a people person. That makes sense. Then it's going to be the market, and then it's going to be the solution. Yeah. So so for me, it's the team, how hungry, how ambitious they are. Then it's the market. Then it's going to be the solution. I'd also be looking at, you know, how well do they understand the space they're in, the competition, right? I want to know that they've thought more about this than I have, and they know it better than I could, right? Because they're going to be my experts on the ground.
All right, beautiful. So I think that what I want to know then would be, from your wealth of experience, right, where do you see the next concentration of global opportunities? And I'm asking this because over the course of time, we've seen things, and again, I'm going to reference Nigeria, move from agriculture to oil, to tech right now, back to agriculture, slowly. I think globally now we're moving to AI. Where do you think, maybe globally right now, the next opportunity flow would be?
Well, AI's
obviously
gonna be here, you know, and important and growing for a while, right? So early days on AI. So I would say still focus on AI. There's an opportunity to develop AI solutions that are specific to not only Nigeria, but industries that Nigeria has where they have an advantage, right? So that's something that I think is early days and will play out for the next 10 years, maybe 20 years. There's no doubt that clean tech and sustainability is a huge opportunity for every country around the world, because these problems that we're going to be confronted with over the next, God knows, couple of 100 years, but it's going to rear its ugly head. You know, it's already starting to do it. We just saw the terrible floods that came through Texas and wiped out hundreds of people and kids. And these things are happening around the world at greater and greater frequency. We're going to start to deal with the fact that the resources where they aren't where they need to be. Like maybe you get more water, you don't need water, you have less where you need it, and crops have to be moved around. So it's going to be, I think we're going to look at mass migrations over time as the water rises. And these are just such massive opportunities that you don't have to worry about like, what's the TAM? Right? The TAM's trillions. It's human, civilization. Can you find a good team? I think, unfortunately, if we don't move faster, the problem is going to force us, and then we're going to be moved because we have to. And that's not generally how we like to do things in life. So I really think sustainability, because it's such a broad space, right? And the fact that you're in oil and gas in such a significant way, I think helps you think about these things, because eventually oil and gas will play a smaller role. So you're like sort of the Saudis or other Middle Eastern countries where you're at a time like, okay, what's our pivot going to be? One day we're going to run out of oil, or the world's going to run out of, the willingness to use it in the way we currently do. So there's going to be spaces in clean tech and in the sustainability that you're going to be perfectly poised to capture. Like you say, went back to agriculture, vertical farming, right? You got the space, farming well, the technologies become better understood. Some of it comes down to economics. You probably have a labor price point that can be beneficial, at least currently. Mm-hmm. There are other spaces. I think Nigeria could actually play an even larger role, although they do play a significant role in defense for the African continent, just sort of not only fortifying things, but unifying people and technologies to come with sort of less expensive solutions to defense. I think the military is a defensive sort of asset. Sure. I think there's a lot of opportunities, but sustainability and clean tech, we haven't even gotten close to solving that, right?
I totally agree. And then I've got a couple of rapid fire questions for you. And this just goes up from the conversation we just had, right? So data, technology, culture, agriculture, which do you think drives the future?
I mean, it's just going to be, it's the answer you hate, but it's real. Like, look, great culture is, if I were stuck with one thing, it'd probably be great culture, right? I mean, you've got somebody like Musk who would probably go with great tech. Right? So, if I'm stuck on a deserted island, would I rather have ChatGPT or a group of people I loved getting along with that I thought were semi-competent? I'd probably pick the people. Sure. I don't know, but to scale and have the impact and to do the things we need to do, you're going to need a mix, right? You're going to need great technology. You're going to need great culture. You're going to need great leadership, right? Because we're headed really into the unknown. And that's where leadership's going to play a more important role, because people are going to be scared and there's going to be all this uncertainty. And you need leaders who are going to say, look, I may not know exactly how to get there. I'm going to point us in a direction. We will work together and we're going to make it. And that takes a lot of courage, and it takes some honesty, because I think we're past the time where leaders knew it all and had all the answers, right? I mean, some leaders may still act that way, but I think there's sort of this broad consensus that knowledge is becoming democratized and equally distributed. We all sort of know a lot now, or we can. But yeah, it's going to be a combination.
A mix of all of them?
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next question then would be pilot fast or plan big, which is better? Pilot fast, right? So you don't really know everything, but I mean, you see the first, the next step, and then like, I'm going to just take this next step and I'm going to hope, and based on my calculations, believe that this is going to be the best thing for me to do, given the variables that I have right in front of me, or wait, figure it all out, have the perfect team, have the the exact amount of capital that you need to get started, and then do this really big thing.
I mean, I think there's a fairly clear consensus about that at this point in time. You need to get good at experimentation, and so being good at experimentation entails a number of things. One is that you know how to structure experiments so that regardless of the results, the outcomes you get are informative and can inform your next decision.
I agree.
That's critical. I think that you need to figure out what's the next step you need to take to get to your desired end state. And what a lot of people use is present, forward, future, back methodology, which says you sort of envision what you're going to be in the future. In 10 years, we will be this, or in 5 years, or whatever your sort of planning horizon is. They get shorter and shorter because the world's changing so fast. But let's say it's 3 years. In 3 years, we're going to be on the cover of whatever, and this is going to be our story. Okay, at 2.5 years from now, what needed to happen for that end story to take place? And you back these up to today. And then you also take where you are today with what capabilities you currently have and say, what can I feasibly get to as the next step? And use these two together to sort of figure this path out.
Beautiful. I think like what I also want to ask, the next one then would be hire fast or hire first and then learn later, or learn first and then hire later. Because now here's how a lot of businesses start up in Nigeria, right? They bootstrap. I've got a really great vision, and I have a couple of friends that believe that this is gonna work. So they start to work with me first, and then over time. Now I've lost my train of thought.
Hire fast or hire first?
So hire fast or learn first, right? So I've got a great business. I bootstrap it. I've got the best possible hands that I can find right now, and I start the business. And then in some cases, some people want to learn everything on their own, right? Yeah. And then when they learn it, they believe that they would get the best available hands. Not the best available hand, the best hands that they can afford, and have them start the business, right? Hiring people, especially if you're going to be a business that is people centric, right? Mm-hmm. Do you hire fast? Hire 10, 15, 20 people, all at once? Or do you first of all learn with a very small team? 5 people, 6 people, and then when your little team is fully competent, they completely understand, they are embedded with the culture that you have built in the system, and then you now say, okay, great, the 6 people would be the pillar that would build the next team of staff or something.
I mean, there's a lot of depends there. I think one of them is, opportunity cost. So if there's a space I've identified where I think I can do something, but if I don't act right away, I've completely missed the opportunity and there's no coming back. I don't think this occurs as often as people think it does, but if there's pressure and there's real cost to not being able to execute quickly, like what's happening in the AI space, you see these companies are paying $100 million, $300 million pay packages to talent and other organizations to poach it because they feel like if they get behind on the development of their LLMs, there's no recovery. Like for them, it's fast. For people that are playing earlier sort of in the startup entrepreneurship space, I think you need to validate that it is actually a good idea before you start tying up resources to make it happen. And so what they would teach you at MIT, Bill Aulett, that runs his discipline entrepreneurship program there, and Steve Blank over at Stanford, and lots of others now would say, get out of the building and go talk to 100 customers about your value proposition. See who would pay. Don't ask your friends. I mean, maybe your friends and family, but don't use that. Maybe that's part of the 100. You got 10 friends and family. What do the other 90 say, right? Are they willing to pay? How much are they willing to pay? Do they like the idea? And you come to them with a pretty low fidelity concept, right? You don't want to spend a lot of time and money into giving them some sort of concept or prototype. You want something that just gets the idea across and said, hey, if this actually happens, would you be interested? That's the first step. And that might actually, you could do that independently. You might have a few friends, but my advice would be until you've gone through that validation step, you shouldn't be hiring people. You should just be working with friends, volunteers, and say, look, I don't know who's getting paid what. I don't know what the equity is. Let's even see if there's anything here yet. If we decide there's something there's a pie to be baked, then we can start to think about how to chop it up. I have a heavy focus on figure out the value creation, right? Like what are you creating that's of particular value? You figure that out, you can figure out the pricing and how to make money and delight customers, but make sure you're actually doing something that's creating value. Too many entrepreneurs get caught up in like the money first, right? Like, how are we going to make you're going to make the money by making something that people value.
I mean, I totally agree with you, right? And the reason why I do is because a lot of businesses, a lot of startups, tech startups in Africa are currently, closing up and shutting down. And I think that the reason is because, earlier on you said something about, going into the markets and talking to 100 people and seeing if you actually have true value and proposition for them. A lot of them are stuck, building the concept, the business, that they're not actually listening to what the customers want. So then you put out this really amazing product, but it is not solving the problem that it needs to solve. So this is really, really, really remarkable, because at the end of the day, when you listen to the market and you solve actual live problems, because I find that a lot of the startups are primarily into payment platforms. Everybody wants to be the payment platform. And you know what just happened in Nigeria recently is that the government just opened it up. You don't need any restrictions anymore. You can use your card to make any form of international payments online, physically, whatnot. Now, do you know how many businesses have crumbled? Many of them. Most of them, because they were all trying to solve just one problem, and there are a lot of tech problems that need solutions too. So this is really great, this one, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, actually for adaptive intelligence, we have something called the Exchange, and the Exchange is a marketplace where people in our community can offer things. I can offer my services, they can ask for things, right? And sort of a very basic concept, but what we're doing is we've created this exchange so we can surface these needs or offers and asks of the community, and we can use some matching and figure out who here can solve the other person's problem. And this is a trend that's going to be coming through LinkedIn and other platforms. But to develop this exchange, I talked about it for probably longer than I should have, because I already have the community going, but I wanted to build this tool that would be beneficial to the community, and I'd say increase, quote, deal flow, through our community, if you will, and solve problems faster, more effectively. I talked about it for a long time. I asked for feedback. What would you like me to build? At some point, you got to start building, okay, I talked to 100 people, the signal's not clear, but I feel for these other reasons, I've looked into the data, I should still do it. You got to start building. And so, but what I did is I built a super low fidelity marketplace. It was just like some basic tools and plugins into my existing site. And from that, I was able to start collecting data from people who were putting their offers and asks into the platform. And as they were doing it, they were like, oh, well, this is a bummer. Why did you do it this way? I spent very little time developing the first one, like 4 days. But it allowed me to have customers starting to interact, or my members starting to interact and give feedback. Sometimes you got to give them enough of a thing close to what you're going to actually deliver to them for them to explore it enough to give you feedback on how to improve it. But low fidelity, go to market, do one thing, little tiny niche thing really well, then try to broaden from there.
Thank you so much in that. And I did say before we started this episode that I was going to be very short and, tap to the point. And then that's all we're going to have. My coffee is cold already. You barely even sipped on your tea.
I owe myself a sip there. Yeah, I got talking too much.
Thank you so much for this conversation, Russell.
Thank you,
I know
Melvis.
that I'll be seeing you a lot more in Nigeria.
Yes. I'm very, very invested in Nigeria, and we'll be doing a big event there in November, as a matter of fact.
I do know that we will. When you do come, I owe you a plate of properly burnt jollof rice.
Oh, absolutely.
With peppered meat.
Double
beef
down.
or chicken? Which would you prefer?
Both.
Fried plantain, a side of Nigerian coleslaw salad, and do you take soda?
Absolutely.
Or maybe Monster. I think you do like Monster.
Yes,
I see that you like
unfortunately,
Monster.
yeah.
and a kind of Monster. I do like that.
All of it. Just, addicted to whatever they got in there. It's probably not good for you. Like a bunch of, supposed to like B vitamins, but I don't know.
I don't think so. But I do promise you that when you come to Nigeria, I'm going to give you a proper Nigerian meal treat.
Well, that's on film, so now you're stuck.
That's why I asked if this was caught live.
Well, now you're caught. So now
I'm a woman of my word. Don't worry. I'm scared of nothing. Anyways, thank you so much for this conversation.
My pleasure. Real honor.
Now, I need you, if you're watching this podcast or if you're even listening, to take quite a little bit of time, especially if you are a startup entrepreneur or you're already in business and, you're trying to decide what your core value is, which I think might be late, but this is quite a good conversation for you to go back to on how to properly structure the foundation on which you probably hire people, how you intend to scale your business, what factors you want to consider if you want to build a business that is sellable, and then how to properly access capital for your business, either as a startup or if you're looking to make even better exploits in your business. Till I come your way next time with yet another episode, maybe not with someone as impeccable as Russell is. What I want you to do right now is go to the link in the description and click on the link that has adaptive intelligence to see what a powerhouse he is, and see if in any form way you could tap into what the ecosystem looks like, and share this video to your friends, your families, your colleagues, your enemies.
Whomever. Don't make the enemies better people.
Oh, please. Till I come your way next time, have an impeccable day and keep winning, keep learning, keep thriving, and keep growing. Bye-bye.
What is the LIMBsimple story? It is not the story of high-ticket workshops held every month for 15 years. It is not the tale of massive halls, packed rooms, or the count of how many businesses we have worked with. No, the LIMBsimple story is deeper than that.
How can we know our limits if we don't attempt to exceed them?
It is a story of transformation, of becoming, of building with clarity, conviction, and community. It's the story of a farmer now hitting their first 1 billion naira, then 10 billion naira in revenue. It's the journey of an e-commerce dream, starting from scratch, now a force of 200 plus strong team, generating over 700 million naira every month. It's about a fish seller in the local market, crossing the 1 billion naira per month revenue threshold, not with magic, but with strategy that works. It's the rise of manufacturers exporting billions worth of goods to the world, and every month from Abuja to Benin, Osun to Ilorin, Lagos to London, Dubai, Qatar, Canada, they gather not just for knowledge, but for clarity, for community, for growth. We've seen real estate firms rise, built on integrity. We've built a trusted network where over 6.7 billion naira in business has passed between hands that trust each other. We've built businesses that don't just serve the CEO's dreams, but honor the ambitions of every staff member. This isn't about a guru telling you what to do. It's about walking with those who have been where you're going. It's about no fluff, simple strategies delivered by people who have walked the path. It's about 54 and counting businesses who've crossed their first or next billion naira with us. And once a year, in November, we gather at the LIMBsimple Strategy Growth Convention. We gather to learn, to connect, to sharpen each other, to share our stories and draw strength from the stories of others. We gather to be reminded of what's possible, to see what's working, to plan for what's next, to build better, smarter together. And yes, you can be a part of it. If your dream is bigger than your doubt, if your vision is clear, but your strategy needs clarity, if you know you're called to build something that outlives you, then this is your tribe. This is your time. This is LIMBsimple.